I gotta be completely honest, Captain Marvel in the MCU is completely boring. With all of her strength, crazy abilities, and sheer power scaling compared to the other heroes, her as a character is quite frankly boring to see on screen. But does that mean I'm not excited to see the new Marvels movie? Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. On this channel we talk about video games and comic books. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode like this. So my big problem with Captain Marvel is that while she is a very convenient character and so powerful, she's also completely irrelevant. Her teaser at the end of Infinity War was amazing. I can't think of a single person that was not interested in seeing Captain Marvel, such a cosmic powerhouse, appear in the MCU at that time. But then it was downhill from there. While her origin story being in the 90s was very interesting, it basically expanded the overall universe so that things were happening before the first Iron Man movie. So for that, I really enjoyed it. However, the fact that they did it in the 90s and the way that they kept the movie going and just her overall connection to the MCU really kept her feeling disjointed and disconnected from everything else that was going on. So much so that, yes, the movie was set in the 90s. Really the only thing that kind of carried a thread through that movie all the way up to Infinity War at that time was just Nick Fury and kind of just his reasoning for wanting an Avengers to be able to handle these different threats. Okay, that was cool. Kind of an origin story for Nick Fury, so I'll give him that. But Captain Marvel as a whole was just so disconnected. The end of her movie, she just flew off into space to go take care of other civilizations that she didn't really have a severe connection to. And it was just kind of convenient in how she was such a cosmic powerhouse that it almost felt like an afterthought with how powerful she was that they decided to introduce her into the MCU. However, they probably didn't think of that from the beginning. And so the way that they introduced her being in the 90s and then having her shipped off somewhere in deep space so that she was not in any of the previous Avengers movie or the other world-breaking threats, and just overall feeling disconnected from everything else that was going on, that was pretty disappointing. Then, as far as how convenient she is, she just magically shows up to bring Tony Stark and Nebula back to Earth because space is just a place you can just run into people, I guess. And she appears, talks to the Avengers, helps bring down Thanos in the beginning of Endgame, and then just disappears and goes off to do more things out in outer space. And her not being there to take care of things out in deep space and all these different things, all these different alien civilizations, that's all fine. What I didn't like is that her sense of responsibility for these alien civilizations just kind of felt like they came out of nowhere. You didn't really get a whole lot of a reason for why she wanted to take care of these different civilizations, why she wants to dedicate her whole life to doing this. And you kind of just get a very lazy explanation for it and motive in her own movie, and she just kind of carries through with that in Endgame to where she's not even in Endgame for most of the movie. But then she comes in at the end through much fanfare and excitement, comes in, destroys Thanos' ship, completely wrecks his army, which is just amazing that she kind of came in at the last minute. However, she didn't really do anything because she was up against Thanos, dealing with him with all 6 Infinity Stones in the gauntlet, and was able to be basically power smacked by the Power Stone. Now, my problem with her is the constant propping her up as this incredible powerhouse who is going to be there to save the day, how almost nobody can match her power-wise, yet she is propped up as this amazing thing and just is constantly letting us down and isn't really there for the movie. And I can kind of understand her not being in Endgame, that they didn't want to, obviously replace the original 6, how the movie was such a big callback to the start of the MCU, so that's all fine. I just would have rathered her not have such a important role in the beginning of the movie, for her to completely vanish, and then come back at the end of the movie with such an important and amazing role, and still let us down. Now, as far as her being a boring and uninteresting character, she's just that. She is just a very powerful and just very unattainable, inhuman kind of person that you can't really relate to, with almost no charisma, and is just overall very bland. You don't really get a sense of constant internal struggle. You don't really get a sense of something that she's grappling with. She's kind of just given these amazing powers, and you're just kind of there and sort of along for the ride, and you don't really get a sense of who this person is beneath the powers. Now, as far as some of the other characters that are in the movie that I'm not really interested in, there's really only one other character that I'm sort of interested in, but not really, and that's Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan is undoubtedly a very likable and interesting person, both in the comics and the actress that is playing her in the MCU. While her change in powers from her comic book origin isn't necessarily my favorite, I don't hate it, but I'm also not really impressed by what they've chosen to do with her. So I'm hoping in this movie, especially with some of the swapping of every time they use their powers, they're swapping places, I'm hoping that they use that in a creative way and not just in a humorous way all throughout the movie. Because I can definitely imagine some really cool fight scenes of them constantly switching places and doing some really awesome stuff. But I will say, at the end of season 1 of Kamala Khan's show, Ms. Marvel, I was really thrown off when she just out of nowhere, completely out of the blue, yells out Embiggen when she clearly has had no connection to that word at all. It's just really off-putting, to say the least. While there's a lot I am not looking forward to in this movie, I am not a pessimist. There are some things that I'm actually very interested to see coming up. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. Helps to show that you want to see more content like this. A couple of the things I'm really interested to see in the Marvels is Monica Rambeau, her character herself. She seems like a great actress and has a very interesting character and power set. I was really impressed with her in WandaVision, and honestly I got a sense of she was grappling with a lot of different things, especially with the weight of her mom's legacy and what that leaves on her. So I'm really interested to see how she can relate and interact with Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel. Which leads into the next thing I'm excited to see, which is just the overall interaction of these three people. I can't think of a more diverse group of people. One, a very kind of bland, boring, uninteresting character, but is incredibly powerful. Two, a very interesting character with a fascinating background and power set that I would really love to see expanded in the movie. And three, an extremely likable adolescent character that is just such a charm to see on screen, and just her acting overall is amazing. So it's really going to be great to see these three people interact. They are so different, and it's going to be great to see how the humor plays and how the serious scenes play, especially with Ms. Marvel, given that this is going to be her first major feature film, both as a character, Ms. Marvel, and as the actress herself. It's also going to be really interesting to see what Nick Fury is up to in Sabre, and just overall how that organization is going to play out in the greater mythos of the MCU, so that'll be interesting to see as well. But with all that said, there is a lot of things to be excited about in this movie, and some things to be a bit hesitant. As you know, I'm actually reserving my judgment until I see the movie. But that said, maybe you're feeling some MCU burnout with all of these different projects going on, the sheer number of projects going on in Phase 4 and in Phase 5. Things have kind of scaled back, but we're still feeling some burnout. So definitely watch this video here where I go over my own MCU burnout, the things I am not looking forward to, and the things that are currently going on in the MCU. And catch this video as well on the things that just failed Doctor Strange 2. Catch you in the next video. Peace.